So here I have a request for a cover-up, and I want to explain to my clients how a cover-up actually works, right? So this guy came in with this Yeezy tattoo, really cool original piece, right? And he wants this thing covered up, right? So let's just kind of break this down, right? Tattoos can only be covered by detailed and high contrast designs, right? So I want to show you guys a couple examples of things on how it can be done and what kind of designs don't work for this kind of cover up, right? So I'm going to give you a couple examples. So let's start with the first one. If someone comes in requesting a design like this, nothing about this design is doable, right? If I was to show you and bring this here, right? Because a lot of times people have to visually see things to understand what we mean. So this design is transparent. Here you get to see exactly how the tattoo underneath is still going to show over the new design, right? Nothing about this can we replicate skin tone or do anything like that in order to cover it. So, terrible decision for a cover up, and it cannot be done, right? So, let's go to option two. You want this cool tiger, a more traditional spin. I don't know who did this design or any of the other designs. I just kind of borrowed this from Google. So here we go. We're just deleting some stuff. Let's get rid of the mess and let's just show. Let's say if you show me this and you want to request a cover up. So let's bring this here again. What's going to happen? Kind of like what I was saying with the other tattoo, right? Colors are semi-translucent. So guess what? You are once again able to see the tattoo underneath it. Look at this. Especially oranges are very transparent. Reds, extremely. None of these colors except the green can overpower the shading underneath. So I want to be able to show this. You can still see it. Even if, let's say, this tattoo was lighter, if we were to bring the saturation down to maybe 80%, let's say that's in reality how it looks, right? You got this tiger head, is still not going to do its job. You may take away from it, but as you can see, right, as we zoom in, you're able to tell exactly what's where. So it's not really a cover up. I just say this would be a hot mess. Yeah, no, this shit doesn't work. And one example. Let's see. Let's keep going. And so one of the reasons I'm doing this video is because I do get lots of requests for cover-ups, and it seems like I'm just constantly repeating the same thing over and over. And I just want to have a video where I can just share with clients who have concepts of a cover-up and they can just have a better understanding, right? All right, so with this cover-up here, or this design, right, more Polynesian inspired, very high contrast, lots of detail, but we got a problem here, which is the exposure of the actual skin. So let's go to over here again. Let's say this design wasn't for an arm, but it was made for a back, right? Which looks pretty fucking cool. Let's flip this thing around. Let's just get creative with it. So here we have a Polynesian Yeezy tattoo. Cool. So we got all these dark areas that definitely cover, right? But as you can see, there are sections where you're going to be able to tell what's going on behind it. So once more, this thing won't work. Now let's say, what are your options realistically? Your options realistically are very detailed designs. Let's say something like this. So the problem and one of the issues that a lot of people have with cover-ups, right, is the fact of scaling. Scaling is everything when it comes down to tattoos, at least cover-ups. Because here comes the fun part. So when it comes to cover-ups, what's going to happen is that we need to throw this design, especially the glasses, because it's the darkest area. We need to throw it in the darkest area of the tattoo that we're using as a cover-up. So this isn't reds, like I mentioned, won't cover up anything. So we're going to have to go big in order to get rid of this. Which of course is my favorite part. I love doing big tattoos. So here you go. You have perfectly a decent scenario where we have this curve of the underbelly right where the end of the head is. Same as over here, right? So some of this stuff will be overpowered by the dark and all that stuff. And in some segments, we will have to clean up with a little bit of skin tones and understanding how color corrections actually work. This is also kind of like a specialty thing. People need to understand how to apply colors and what colors work well to cover up tattoos. Um, like I was saying, this stuff here, not so bad. I think it's one of the best scenarios because we can throw. I probably would change the color of the whiskers on the dragon. Like I said, yellow doesn't work. So if we have maybe like a turquoise or like blues or greens, those colors work really well and kind of create a shock, high contrast to the tattoo of so you don't see what's underneath. Eventually, if you see this from a distance, obviously this design doesn't relay the best of what I'm trying to show, but ultimately what you're going to end up with is something along this side where the new tattoo overpowers the one in the back. Um, Little things like this, it's important to understand this shit ain't perfect. We're trying to do the best with what we have. So that's why there has to be some leeway with the artist so we can choose the best colors that are going to work for this. So as a client, you kind of put yourself in a corner when it comes to selection of design. Um, so here goes an example. All right, let's go with the last design. Here goes this giant dragon that most likely no one's going to complain about. So, most people don't want to go bigger, typically for cover ups, but understanding you made a mistake and now this is you either get it lasered or get it covered up, but you don't have too many options. All right. And so here you go. This is potentially the best case scenario. Turquoise, blues, greens are some of my favorite colors to use for cover-ups. They can definitely override a lot of tones that, that are just too dark, too difficult to cover. So, all right. What else? Let me see. So these two people got a similar body build, so perfect. So as you can see, here we have some of the head still exposed. This is where multiple passes are crucial. we're definitely going to have to do multiple passes, especially on the greens and on some of these areas where you could still see the old tattoo. It's all about shading, breaking down the pattern and the shapes that are underneath. Uh, as a whole, right, this is obviously like a mock-up of me trying to explain to you how a cover-up works, how to have a better understanding, and how sizing and details are extremely important to break down and break apart the design that you have underneath. You know, this is obviously a very distinct shape, which we've seen for many hours, and we're able to kind of depict uh, exactly what's underneath. But if the shading was a little bit darker, let's say, I'll just show you like real quick, but if I'm able to create a little bit of higher contrast on the scales, this on its own is already breaking apart the shape of the head. So this is just like a little intro to what cover-ups really are, how they're meant to be, and things that you're supposed to understand behind you tackle this. This isn't a one session kind of deal. It's not like a one and done cool, like you came into the shop and you got yourself a cool cover up. Uh, I've done plenty of these, and these take many, many hours. In many cases, the most realistic thing to say, it's taken me personally at least 3 sessions to be realistic. I'd say that's the most accurate I can tell you. Maybe there's some other artists out there in the world who can do it in one shot, but that's them. I don't, yeah, we all work very different. So, yeah, so this is a process. It's a big decision, right? Just how we made the first mistake. Hopefully, our second option isn't a bigger mistake like the first one. So, definitely choose your artist correctly. Make sure they know what the hell they're doing. Uh, yeah, no, this takes time. And just as I was explaining, once again, boom, some nice high contrast here, some shading. You're able to kind of start breaking away some of this. You can have some cool little textures, right? In this to take away once again from all these little details that are just showing a little too much. So this is where understanding patterns, breaking shapes. This is truly what it's about. Hopefully this makes sense. And yeah, let me know if you got any questions underneath and if you got a more in-depth question. All right. Thank you.